What's up guys, NepentheZ here and welcome back to another episode of the Road to Glory. As you can see on the screen, we are currently 27 wins and 3 losses. We were 12 wins and 3 losses, so a 15 game win streak to date. It's really frustrating actually, the way my FUT Champions weekend has gone, because I went 10-0 and then I was 12-3, so I lost 3 of the next 5, and I lost one of them on penalties, and you know, it's just excuses, I know, but I lost one on penalties, and I lost one that I could potentially have won and should potentially have won and didn't win. And I lost, I can't remember how I even lost the other one, but we sit here at 12-3. We then go on a 15 game win streak to take us to 27-3. And you'll see through today's games, and you'll know by the title, and if you follow me on social media, just as a discussion whilst you watch the gameplay, it's not really a spoiler I guess, because it's all in today's video. We end up 34-6. And the way it went was we went to 30-3, so you're going to see 3 wins coming up in a row here, which meant I went on an 18 game win streak. I literally went from 12-3 to 30-3. So at 12-3, I was hoping for Elite 3. I was hoping for 29 wins, you know, should have been doable. I was playing good FIFA anyway. The losses I had weren't really, they weren't really like destroying defeats. I didn't really ever lose to someone that I was like, wow, that guy beasted me. Where usually once or twice throughout the weekend, I'm like, whoa, that dude was just good. Whereas this weekend, my losses came from my own mistakes and my own errors, less so than my opponents just beasting me, you know? So we went to 30-3, and then we were 32-6. So just like going from 10-3 to 10-0 to 12-3, we went 30-3 to 32-6. So we had 2 5-game periods where we lost 3 games. So we lost 6 games out of the 10 in the bad runs. And that's not the end of the world, because we still managed to get 34 wins, which is Elite 1. But, and I mean this like genuinely, I know when somebody's better than me, and I know when I've let myself down through just playing bad FIFA or making silly mistakes or letting the way my opponent is playing get the better of me. And this weekend, I honestly could have got 38 wins. There were 2 games where it was just really, really close games, really even, and I was on the losing side. One of the games was a viewer. He scored in the 88th minute with Giovinco. It was a super close game. It was actually a fun game because I play really attacking FIFA. You know, I go attacking and counter-attack from the offset. And I sat there and messaged him afterwards, GG bro, like, awesome game. And he messaged back saying that he felt like I deserved to win the game, but I don't feel like I did. I felt like it was just an even, open game that could have gone either way. And there were 2 games this weekend where I sat there at the end of the game and thought, do you know what, I'm okay with that loss. Like, I deserve to take that loss, or at least I didn't deserve to not, you know, I didn't deserve to not lose that, if that makes sense, you know. So there were 4 losses in that instance where I sit there and think, one was on penalties in a game I genuinely dominated. One was to a guy that went 2-0 and then went part of the bus where I should have just played better. I really let it wind me up, and that was the worst thing that I could have done. And then a couple of losses where I just played bad. I just let myself down, and it's real frustrating because I never thought I'd get to Elite 1. I never thought I'd get to Elite, really. Like, you know, when we started the Road to Glory, I said to you guys, my aim was always to get to like Gold 2 or Gold 1 every week. Those coins, those packs, I was like, yeah, this could be great. When I started getting into Gold 1 consistently, it was then a point of, I'll now be upset if I never get Gold 1. You know, if I ever finish in Gold 2, I'll be really upset with myself. So when the first time I got Elite, which was actually the first week of last month when they changed the Elite from 30 wins to 29 wins, I was happy because I was like, sweet, we've achieved something that I don't think anyone necessarily thought was possible from just a standard Road to Glory, no matter how good the player. You know, we came up against some good teams and did some good things. But I achieved that. And then 3 weekends ago, I got Elite 2. I then got Elite 3 again the next week. And then this weekend, we managed to get Elite 1. And what's actually really disappointing, not disappointing because I'm happy for anyone that does good, this is disappointing for me in myself, is that Castro also got 34 wins. Castro is a phenomenal player. Of course, he won Fatal. He beat me on the way to winning Fatal. He got 34 wins, and he also believes that he should have done better than he did. He believes he should have got 38, 39 wins as well. And so I'm on that groove of like, okay, if I get lucky, and we'll talk about this in a second, but if I get lucky to come up against the right opponents each weekend, there's no reason why I can't get top 100 once or twice this year. That would be, in my opinion, a hell of an achievement to consolidate myself as one of the best 100 players in the world without spending a penny. To my knowledge, only 2 people have done that so far, Inception and Fuji. Fuji has a Road to Glory where he doesn't spend money, and he's been in top 100 once or twice, I believe, and Inception obviously is just an incredible FIFA player. He's not spent a penny on the game other than buying the game itself, and he constantly finishes in top 100 and has like a super team because of the rewards that he's got. Credit to him. But going back to the whole Castro thing, Castro and I got the same number of wins. Castro is currently ranked 40th in the in the Americas region. 34 wins was enough to get him to 40th in the whole region. I'm not even in the top 100 for Europe, let alone for the world. Even though I think I'm 2 wins off it. Like, it's 36 wins for it's 36 wins for Europe, and it's 36 wins for top 100, whereas I think it was only 32 wins for the Americas region. So it's a bit frustrating because, you know, 34 wins is unreal, but I could have got there. It could have been a bit better. Now, I was talking to a lot of people over the weekend, Bateson, Marshall, Nick, and viewers, and we kind of like. We're interested. We're interested in how this game works. We're interested in how you match up against who you match up against. Because I started, like, there were some murmurings that it's random. I thought it was done by skill points. I then thought it was done by wins. I then had an inclination that it's potentially like the division that you're in. So if you're in Gold 1, you come up against other people in Gold 1. And I was never sure as to how exactly you get matched up against who you get matched up against, because EA never said anything about it. So with that being said, there was some like murmuring, some rumours that it is just random. So what I started doing is after every game, I started messaging my opponent and asking them, hey dude, good game, what's your record right now? And it is unbelievable the disparity of records that I came up against, that it couldn't possibly be based on record, it couldn't possibly be based on skill points, so I don't know what it is actually based on. For example, when I was 30-3, my next game, I messaged the guy, when I was 29-3, I messaged the guy that I played to get that 30th win, and he was 30-1, and I beat him, so he became 30-2. A couple games later, for me to go then, I think 31-4, that guy was 18-10. How am I coming up against a guy 30-1, to then come up against the guy who's 18-10, and then I messaged the next guy that responded anyway a few games later was like 22 wins and 7 losses, and that's a good record, don't get me wrong, but I was like 33-6, or 32-6 or something. Like, I had an incredible record where there's no way he has enough skill points to be matching up against me. His wins are nowhere near my wins, and his division, his ranking is nowhere near my ranking. So how the bloody hell do we rank up with each other? So on that note, if it indeed is random, people going 40-0 or shooting way above their means, or in some people's case, and we'll talk about Nick and his ill success recently, shooting way below their means, could literally be based on at what point you press advance to the game. You could press advance to the game at midday and come up against an absolute god tier player who just happened to press go at the same time as you and matched up with you. However, if you would have waited 35 or 45 seconds, you could have pressed go at that point in time and matched up against a guy who's in his first ever weekend league. And I don't necessarily think that if that is true, I don't necessarily think that is fair. Like, it shouldn't be fair that people could potentially go above or below their means based on who they match up against. And when you watch Nick, if you guys watch Nick, I'm a big fan of Nick's streams. His Poor Man's Road to Glory is fantastic, and consider him a good personal friend. But when I watch Nick gets shafted a lot anyway. Like, some of his gameplay is just great, and then he either lets himself down at the end with poor shot decisions, or he just gets like I've never seen anyone since me in FIFA 15. I've never seen anyone suffer from the amount of AIDS in FIFA that Nick suffers from. Shots hitting the post, defenders auto-lunging at the worst time possible, missing open goals, just missing easy chances, and then literally conceding one goal from one shot. And that in itself is part and parcel of FIFA. And it's easy to swallow that when it comes 1 game in 5 or 1 game in 10. But in this weekend's case, where Nick finished 24-16, which is still an admirable record, it's only 1 game away from Gold 1, which is a great achievement. This is the game, by the way, where the guy scored in the 88th minute. Lovely goal, great game, had a lot of fun playing that game. You can see from the match stats, like I said, he messaged me saying that he felt I deserved to win and that he was lucky. But you'll see from the match stats that it was just a very close game. It could have genuinely gone either way. But with Nick, like I say, if you can swallow it if you get it 1 in 5, 1 in 8, 1 in 10 games. But Nick gets the AIDS every other game, and it's crazy to see it. And there are times where my mind's eye sees something that says I would do something different here. But it's easy in hindsight to look back at someone's gameplay and say, oh, you could have done this, you could have done that, you should have done this, you should have done that, you should have defended better here, you should have done this here, you should have made a sub here. Like, it's easy in hindsight to say that, but when you're in the heat of the moment, it's difficult, right? It's difficult to analyze instantly, that quickly, to get the best out of yourself. But it would be interesting to me to see what Nick's record would be if he had played every game or searched for every game 1 minute later than he actually searched for the games, if instead of being 24-16, he was 34-6 like I was. I wonder if because I had some easy games, I'm not going to lie, I had some games where I was like, even like you'll see in my last 2 games, I've got 2 rage quits, really quick rage quits as well, in my final 2 games, and I was sitting there like, how am I 32-6 coming up against dudes that just give up at 2-0 down and were generally bad players? And again, I don't want to disrespect anyone. I don't want to take anything away from anyone. You get into the weekend league, you've got to be at least semi-decent to get in the weekend league. Like I said, I don't want to disrespect anyone, but I don't consider myself to be an elite FIFA player. I don't put myself up there with the pros or with Bates and the Marshall. I know I'm not quite that good. But those guys, they weren't on my level. And I'm not saying like I say, I just want to preface this by saying I'm not at the highest level. But the dudes that I played at some points throughout this weekend league just weren't on my level, and I don't think that's fair that I should come up against people who just aren't good enough to play against me. In the same sense, I don't think it's fair that I should come up against people that I'm not good enough to play against. So I think EA need to be a little bit more transparent with how the matchmaking works in Foot Champions and why it works, how it works, because I don't know. It can be frustrating at times in certain areas and certain aspects of pretty much everything. With that being said, there was a video from A9 Skills a while back, a few days ago, where he talked about free entry into Foot Champions, and he discussed that if you're not qualified for Foot Champions, you need to win 4 straight games to get into Foot Champions, and there are often times where you need to win 4 straight games with a team that you're not comfortable with because there are specifications. Now, there are sometimes no specifications, but sometimes there are. Like this time around, for example, today, you need to have 4 MLS players in your team, which doesn't suit everyone. However, when you're in Foot Champions, you don't even need a 50% win rate to stay in Foot Champions. So EA is saying you need to win 4 games in a row to get here, but when you're here, win 1, lose 1 is good enough to keep you here. And I agree with the sentiment that that's wrong. That how people qualify is a bit wrong. And the reason why I agree with that is I don't necessarily think that people should be handed free entry into Foot Champions. I think the game mode will just lose its edge. It's supposed to be a competitive game mode, but I think there should be more ways or easier ways to qualify for Foot Champions. Instead of a 4-leg tournament where you have to win 4 consecutive games, why not 3 consecutive games? Or why not like an instance where instead of a tournament to get into the weekend league, like with divisions, a division to get into weekend league. So right now you guys know if you get promoted from Division 2 or if you win Division 2, you get in a weekend league. If you hold Division 1 or if you win Division 1, you get entry into the weekend league. So you can effectively get in through divisions, right? But people that can't win 4 games in a row in tournaments can't get to Division 2. So you're immediately ruling them out, and I don't think that's fair. What I think they should do is instead of just having a tournament, they should have like a division, like literally a weekend league qualification season. So between Monday at 7 AM when Foot Champs finishes and Friday at 7 AM when Foot Champs starts, you have a 10 games league where you play against random people like you do in a tournament, and you need to win 6 of your 10 games to qualify. This then gives people more incentive to play through that division and get them into FUT Champs, and then if they've qualified and they're not good enough, they won't achieve gold, which means they won't qualify the next week automatically, which means they'll have to go back into the qualification league to get back in. However, if they are good enough, they'll stay in, they'll never have to qualify again. And the reason why I think something like that would be effective is because there are definitely players out there who are good enough to hold gold or better in the weekend league, but can't qualify for many reasons. Reason number one could be that they just don't have time to play the tournaments during the week, which is a little bit, that's kind of a little bit like tough luck, but also it's like that's not really that fair. Reason number two is because some people don't perform well under pressure. Me personally, I don't perform well under pressure. You see me buckle here. I went 10-0 and I buckled. I went 30-3 and I buckled. I lost a narrow 1-0 game to a guy there who this guy just did not deserve to beat me. As I say to you guys, there were some losses that I can take and I could be like, okay, no, that guy was decent, he deserved that. But this guy, he did not deserve it. He did not deserve to beat me in the slightest. He had only 2 shots. He only had 50% possession because after he scored in the 72nd minute or whatever, he just passed the ball around his defence for the rest of the game, and it just brought the possession stats dramatically back in his favour. But it just wasn't, like, he didn't earn that victory. Like, he stole that victory. But people will be able to qualify with a league where there's less pressure rather than a tournament that says when you get to the final, you have to win this, otherwise you've just missed your chance and you have to start all the way from the beginning again. And let's say you literally have enough time to play 2 tournaments and you get to the final and you get disconnected, and then you get to the final again and you lose just narrowly. You've now got to the final twice. You could potentially have qualified, but you haven't, and now you've run out of time and you're not going to get into the league. And that I don't think is fair, because you are good enough to be in the league, you just didn't happen to make it this time. So if they have a weekday league, like throughout the week so people can qualify, playing 10 games across the week and needing to win 6 or even 7 would be far, far more beneficial. I think it would relieve a lot of the pressure for people to be able to qualify. I think it would get people in a position where they can focus a lot more on qualifying rather than having to rush to desperately play. And that, in my opinion, would be a better way, instead of handing out free entries or maybe turning tournaments to 3 wins instead of 4 wins. I personally think that would be a better way to do things. Put them in a league in the weekday where they have to hit a certain specification to qualify. So guys, our penultimate game here, we end up winning 3-0 to a rage quit, and I was so happy to get a rage quit because I was tilted after losing that one game. I left myself needing 2 wins out of 2 games to get Elite 1, and I'd already thrown away and bottled it so hard anyway. Being 30-3 and finishing 34-7 is not good, right? It's just not good. 34-6 is just not good. And then into the final game, came up against this team, and honestly, I kind of laughed a little bit. I knew I was going to win this game straight away. He's got 2 lone players off chem in midfield. He's got basic chem styles on some of his players. He's got backbone on Luke Shaw, backbone on Koscielny. I honestly just looked at that team and just thought, if I lose this game, I don't care how good this player is. If I lose this game, I will be very, very upset, because I was playing good FIFA. I was just in a good mental state whilst playing anyway. Just caused a rage quit, and I know there are only minor advantages, but having the right chem styles and having the right players on chem, I'm all for playing players off chem, but certain players have to be on the right chem. I was very confident that I was going to take this win, and I got an early goal, and that set me away, and then an early second goal with Lacazette there put me to 2-0, and at that point I knew it was game over, and in fact at that point it was game over. My opponent quit at 2-0 down. I was quite surprised. I thought he might at least try and get back into the game, but he just didn't even try. He just gave up, and he essentially gave me the win. But you can see by the match stats, 59% possession. I was dominating. I managed to get to Elite 1 for the first time ever, which for me is a great achievement. And I tell you why I was really happy to do it this time. And this is no slight on players that buy FIFA points or have super teams, because my team is good. I would be lying if I said that I'm playing with a poor team. But when I see the likes of Bateson and Marshall and Castro as well with super teams, like Castro's team is unreal and I got the same amount of wins as him. Bateson has a super team and I got 1 more win than him. Marshall has a super team, I got 1 more win than him. I was able to do this without spending money on the game, with just investing my time. But I was also able to do it without needing Ronaldo or Gullit or Vieira or Griezmann. And I can afford 1 or 2 key players, and I've got some good players, don't get me wrong. Lacazette is amazing, Hazard is amazing, De Bruyne is a big player, Inform Kante is amazing, but I've worked up to earn these players, and it just feels so gratifying to get 34 wins out of the 40. Even though I feel like I could have done better, it felt good to get 34 wins, to get Elite 1, to get those super prizes. This though, guys, is going to be the end of the video. Let me know what you think about what I've been talking about in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. I'm out. Peace.